Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
This is Bigger Questions with your host, Robert Martin.
Welcome to Bigger Questions. Today's big question, how can we sing when it hurts? Now, we usually record Bigger Questions before a live audience, but we weren't able to get our guest before a live audience today. My guest today is Dami Im. Dami is a singer-songwriter who won the 5th season of the X Factor Australia in 2013. She represented Australia at the 2016 Eurovision Song Contest, where she came second overall. She has released numerous chart-topping albums and top 20 hits, and she joins me now. Dami.
Hi.
Welcome to Bigger Questions.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you. Normally we welcome you with a rapturous applause from our audience. That sounds pretty rapturous.
Just me.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, now, Dami, you've sung at grand finals, Eurovision, and on national television. So do you get nervous before a performance?
I do. Some more than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there some that particularly make you nervous?
I was really nervous when I did Eurovision, I have to be honest.
Probably understandable. That's right.
Yeah, that one I was so nervous about because I wanted to kill it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you did. You nailed it. So were you happy with your Eurovision performance?
I was very happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really gave it my best. And, like when you go into it, you don't know whether you're going to come 10th or 40th.
Yeah.
And I came second. And I was just like, the whole thing was incredible.
Yeah. Well, Eurovision has been described as a singing competition on steroids where nothing is too over the top. And Sam Pang once said, nothing says Eurovision like a man playing a piano on fire. Now, it's the world's most watched non-sporting event. So how did you feel when you were chosen as Australia's entrant for the competition?
I couldn't believe it because, I've watched it since I was young, and I always thought, wow, that's so strange, that show. And then to
Pianos
be
on fire and things.
Yeah, and people dressed in sequins and, grandmas cooking and singing, and then to find out that I was in it and competing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Yeah. So did it feel like being a dream in some sense when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, I never dreamed that I'd be on it because I didn't know that was possible, like Australia being part of.
No, that's right, because we're not actually in Europe.
Right, yeah. And so it was like, more than a dream. I'm like, what? It's like, going to another dimension or something.
So that's what it was like? It was like something, I was on a singing competition on steroids, so to speak? Everything was just bigger and grander?
Yeah, everything, yeah. And, for some countries, Eurovision, they've had it for years and years, and the whole culture and the whole, the fandom is so huge and deep. Like, for some countries, they say it's like their religion. Like, it's that,
wow.
They just live and breathe Eurovision. So just being part of that was a bit like, whoa, this is crazy.
It was a bit confronting in some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was an enjoyable experience for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what's it like then, singing before large cheering audiences?
It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it always helps when there's a really great, responsive live audience.
Yeah.
You just get in the moment and you just, soak up the energy and the atmosphere. And yeah, it's just exciting. But then when it's more like when you're just focused on the TV audience that you don't really hear. You imagine that.
You don't connect with them in the same way.
No. So you just look at the camera lens and you try and do the same thing. That's more nerve-wracking, I think.
So how was it when you started with the X Factor? Because that was your first sort of public singing kind of competition experience where you were singing for a national audience, so to speak, and then the crowds were just going crazy for you. How did you feel then?
It was all very new to me because I'd never, just being on TV it was my first time, and to be in the Australian mainstream culture, that was all very new to me because I come from a Korean immigrant background.
Yes.
Where my world was very small, and then here I was on this television show that everybody was watching, and it was just new and a little bit scary as well.
Yeah, and everything changed, I suppose, for you as well in that competition.
Yeah, I mean, it went really well for me, and so
went pretty well. Yes, yeah.
So it's opened up all these opportunities, and it wasn't what I expected, and it was amazing.
So when did you realise then that you could sing?
So I was about 13 when I first decided to record myself singing at home.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a lot of K-pop then.
All right, yeah.
And I thought, all right, I'm going to try and record it myself because I thought, yeah, you know, how hard could it be? So I recorded. I remember recording on my computer on this software and listening back to it and going, ooh, not so good.
You didn't think you'd make it as a K-pop star?
No, it was terrible. So
what was so bad about it? Was it out of tune or just it was the wrong
I was
style?
in tune. I because I've been playing piano for so long. Like I knew that to be in tune, but it just didn't sound great. So I got really obsessed with that. It was a shock to me, but I wanted to be good at it. So I would just sing every day for hours and hours in my room for years.
Really?
And yeah, and then by the time I got to my, late teen years and, when I was like 20, I knew I could sing. I started to sing more in public and in church and things like that.
Yeah. So you sang for hours and hours in your bedroom. What sort of things did you sing?
I sang a lot of K-pop.
Yeah.
That's, like Boa. I was really into Boa. If you're a K-pop fan, you would know who she is.
I know a couple of K-pop bands, but that's, but
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, so to speak, yeah.
And then I'd listen to like Mariah Carey and like Spice Girls were big at the time. I don't think I recorded the Spice Girls, but
Because it was a Mariah Carey song that you sang at your X Factor audition, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was reliving your bedroom days, I suppose, was it, in some ways?
yeah. And when I went on the show, I wanted to sing the hardest song that I knew, and like Mariah Carey songs are really particularly difficult to sing.
Yes.
So many runs and high notes.
And she has an incredible range as well.
Yeah, it's so hard to sing. So I thought, we've got to show off everything you can.
So then what made you want to enter the X Factor?
So by that time, I had decided that I was going to be a singer for life. Like I wanted that to be my main thing. I finished my degree on piano.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, now I can do what I really want to do. And so I picked singing. So I finished a degree in at the con. I did a master's in contemporary voice.
Yep.
And then I thought, okay, now how do I become a singer? Like how do I gig and do stuff?
Yeah. You didn't want to be a K-pop star?
I did some things in Korea as well, but not as a K-pop. I did like gospel music. I did CCM, Christian, so like singing at youth camps and, little church, special like singing, during the service and things like that. And I recorded my own album, like a Christian album. But it was just really difficult because most of it was in Korea and I was still living in Australia. So it was like I couldn't sustain it, and I didn't really have a career in Australia, even though this was home. So I thought, like, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
And X Factor sort of came up, and I thought, all right, well, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, and it was a big decision for you. Now, it's promised that singing competitions like the X Factor can change your life. So has your life changed much since the competition?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, it really did. Yeah, I mean, it really got me to be able to do, music as a, living. And, and I got to record albums, like tour, work with a major label and travel everywhere. Like it's been good.
So now you're living what you were aiming to do, I suppose, be a singer. So you've achieved it.
That's what I wanted to do. So,
Yeah. And it brings you satisfaction and joy?
Yeah, sometimes. Most times, yes.
Sometimes?
Yes.
Why do you say sometimes?
No,
are
most
there
times.
challenges in the industry?
I guess with every industry, you can't just, it's not always easy and like rosy all the time.
From the outside, there's sparkles, glitter, lights, glamour, and pianos on fire at times. But that's not how it is on the inside necessarily.
Well, yeah, I mean, that, it's a very competitive industry. So you've got to be always pushing and working really hard to make things happen, just navigating through the industry, like working with different people, how it works with the label, how it works with, television. Like it was all very new to me. So I think it took me a few years to understand like what I wanted to do in this industry and what kind of music I wanted to make, who I was as an artist, who I am as a person, all of that. And I think it's only more recently that I'm like, I feel like I really know what I want to do. I want to write my own songs. I want to tell my stories and, like have a strong vision for where I'm heading. Whereas before then I was sort of like, oh, what's going to happen? Kind of go with the flow a little bit.
So you're trying to find your place, so to speak, and you've had a few years to do that, but now you've sort of worked out, this is my niche, this is where I'm going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because legendary singer-songwriter Van Morrison once said, music is spiritual, the music industry is not. So does that give a bit of an insight, perhaps, into the challenges of life in the music industry?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Music is spiritual and industry is not. Well, yeah, it's like I think to do what you're really passionate about, you got to sacrifice a lot for that as well, and that's just comes with it. The stress and the pressure, and you just got to learn how to overcome that and still be able to enjoy the process without getting caught up in all the tension and the stress.
So can it be hard to enjoy things when you've made big sacrifices?
Depends what the sacrifice is, but I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I think for me what's important is doing something every day, like knowing that you're going in the direction that you would like to head rather than just being aimless,
Yes.
Every day you're moving forward towards the kind of person you want to be, the kind of direction that you'd like to head, I think, and that's all we can do, right?
Yeah. Now, commentators, critics and the general public can be very critical of those in the public life. So is receiving criticism hurtful?
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's hurtful for everybody, right?
Yeah. Is it different being more in the public light to receive criticism?
Yeah, I mean, no one likes receiving criticism, and I think when you're in the public eye, you just have to expect there's going to be criticism. No matter what you do, you can't really make everybody happy or like you. So I guess part of the skill is to try and not pay attention to every kind of criticism that comes your way. And focus on what you actually would like to achieve.
Yeah. So is it easy for your self-worth to be tied up with where you are on the charts?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yeah, I've spoken about this before in my shows, but it's like sometimes you get caught up with the chart position, with whatever result that you get. You just got to focus on the bigger picture, I guess.
The bigger picture, yeah. So what's the bigger picture for you then?
For me, well, I don't know. It changes all the time. Like, I'm always trying to figure out and grow. For me, I always say like working with Compassion, Compassion Australia, is one of the things that does help me stay grounded and feel like I'm doing something, at least something that is helpful for someone, helping children that are in need with like, because sometimes you do stuff, you're working hard, and you feel like, oh, is this even doing anything? Is this making any difference to the world?
Yeah.
But then at least I know that the work I do with Compassion, it's very much tied with helping children literally who are living in poverty, and it's done in Jesus' name. Like, I really do believe in the work that Compassion does really helps people and changes families' lives, and that's something that I have been able to do a lot of during my career. And when I look back at that and looking at the children there, like, that's one of the things where I feel like, it's not meaningless.
Right, there's some purpose and meaning to that.
Yeah.
So is it important for you that it's in Jesus' name, the work of Compassion?
Well, I love it because I feel like people don't like to be preached at,
Yes.
No one wants to be preached at.
No.
Like,
so you don't do that in your shows?
No one's going to like push, like, you got to believe this and you got to do that and you're wrong, and no one wants to hear that. But Compassion is really doing what Jesus wants you to do in action, putting it in action, helping people in need, helping the community through churches around the world. And it's really powerful when I actually went and saw the work they did. And with their slogan, they're not shy about it, that they do it in Jesus' name, but then they're also speaking much louder with their actions, not just their slogan.
Not just the slogans, no. Now, you are a Christian believer, as we've just discussed, and this is a key part of your story. So, but why is that? Can you tell us your story? What convinced you that the Christian message was something worth following and believing?
Well, for me, I grew up in the church. My mum always took me to church since I was young. Mm-hmm. And when I first came to Australia, we went to a Korean church, and it helped us to adjust in a new country.
Right. So that was actually helpful in the adjustment process as you change countries.
You know, just there's a community around us. But I think I only started to think about the faith more seriously kind of as I got older, like university age, and started to question. And then during uni, it was all about serving the church and doing lots of things, being the leader and song leader and doing everything like that. And yeah, I was really into it, like very involved. And then what happened was I think I got a bit burnt out by that.
Right, yeah.
Just being like sometimes you do things out of guilt rather than the joy or the grace of it, and you just go, what, you just feel guilty for not doing stuff. But then after X Factor, I wasn't able to be like that anymore, like on that scale. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's when I started to question, like, what does this actually mean? Like, does my faith still... Is this still okay? Like, what does it actually mean to be a Christian? And, it doesn't mean that I have to be a full-time worker at church, or can I still be outside and be doing things as a Christian, believer? And, I mean, I'm always thinking about how to be, like, what it means to be a Christian, and you know. But I guess one thing I really learned was that it's God's grace that is really amazing, not all the work that I have to do and, showing off that I go to all these services. Because, like there used to be a service at church every day, and we were very much encouraged to attend very much like, there was so much pressure to, be there all the time. But I have this burning question, like, but what about, like, didn't Jesus call us to go outside to church?
Right,
So if we're all here, who's going outside?
Yeah.
That was my question.
That was a big issue for you.
Yeah. And then with X Factor, it sort of pushed me outside, and I was like, what do I do? I don't know what to do outside.
Yeah.
Like, do I just keep saying, Jesus, what do I do? But yeah, like now with my church, they're very supportive of what I do, and I love that there's a community that I connect with on a regular basis that pray for me and support the work I do, but also, I can just be honest to them about my questions and things I have about Christianity and how it actually fits into this picture.
Yeah. They keep you grounded in some sense.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned before about grace being sort of amazing. Were you understanding of it, the grace became amazing? So why was it so amazing to you? What was the thing about grace that made it so good?
Well, I guess every other religion in the world, there's great religions everywhere, but it's always about what you do and how you achieve a good life and how you become the good person through whatever you do. But with Christianity, the biggest difference is that it's not what I do, it's what Jesus did. And giving your life to Jesus and trusting him, that's grace, right? Just trusting. And when you actually grasp that, it's like, it's pretty overwhelming. Like, so he's done everything for you. You don't have to do. And it's I think that's really amazing, but also a challenge, because sometimes I think we treat it like it's so cheap as well.
Right, yeah.
But when I think about it, it's still amazing that God would still accept,
so
people like me.
liberating for you then?
Definitely. It's, when I'm really fully immersed in that grace, it's incredible that, like, somebody would love me like that.
So does your faith help you then with your self-doubt or with seeing yourself as your chart position?
with my faith, it's, really about seeing what's really important in life.
Yeah.
And it's not what I actually do with my life, how much success I have. At the end of the day, it's about my relationship with God and knowing that He's in control and always trusting that He's got my best interest and He's got a great plan for my life rather than, if I don't get this, if I don't do this, I'm going to be a failure. So, and it's really easy to forget, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just get so caught up.
Success is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with success.
But it can be very blinding and you just get so caught up in it. But yeah, when I step back and go, actually, you know what, God knows what's best for me. And if if something happens and things don't go to plan, which always, nothing ever goes to plan anyway.
When you wanted to win Eurovision, I suppose, coming second.
That I disagree. I was happy with that.
Okay.
Always, you you have to step back and go, actually, I'll still praise God because He's the one that truly loves me, not in a superficial way that I want Him to, but in a deeper way.
Now, Dami, you've released a song, Crying Underwater. It seems quite personal and a more meaningful song than many other popular songs. And you mentioned before about, you've found your sort of niche, so to speak, where you're trying to write with your songs. So why did you write the song?
So Crying Underwater is, when you're crying underwater, essentially no one can see whether you're crying or not. And I was talking to my friend, Michael Tan, and we were saying how, there's so many people around us that are feeling sad and feeling depressed, but they are unable to talk to anybody about it, and they feel this pressure to pretend that they're fine and they're happy. And I think with Instagram and social media, everyone just posts how happy they are, #blessed, and so you feel like you're the only one going through that sadness. And I felt that myself as well. So I started writing this song. I just wanted to talk about that in my song.
Yeah. Now, music is often so uplifting and there's many happy songs. So is it hard to sing about hurt and suffering?
I guess it can be, scary. That's the scariest part, being vulnerable with my songwriting, talking about how I actually feel, which isn't always great, no. And just opening about it. And it's scary, but I think it's important to do that as well.
Yeah. Now, many of the themes of your song, Crying Underwater, are also found in the Bible. For example, in Psalm 69, verses 2-4, the psalmist writes, "I sink in the miry depths where there is no foothold. I have come into the deep waters. The floods engulf me. I am worn out calling for help. My throat is parched." So it seems as though the idea of crying underwater is familiar with the psalmist here. Now, I've come into the deep waters, the floods engulf me. So does it surprise you that the Bible has these profound emotions recorded in it?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's,
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that the Bible records these emotions.
Yeah. I mean, it's even the Bible isn't always everything's fine, it's going great because God is here. They go through these struggles, and it's, I think it's human to go through different emotions and the hardships and sometimes, deep despair and doubt. And I think it's encouraging that the Bible talks about that and is quite honest about it rather than trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, there's a real honesty of life there.
Yeah.
Now, the Psalms were sung and probably would have been sung. So how do you think this psalmist would have been singing about floods engulfing him?
I don't know.
That sounds, maybe this is a new song perhaps for you.
I don't know. Yeah.
So you're a Christian believer. So how does God help you when you feel like you're crying underwater?
For me, I don't know. I think I used to struggle with feeling like I shouldn't be sad all the time. Because, ever since I was young, I used to go through these ups and downs where I go down and it just feels horrible. It just feels sad. But then I felt guilty that I was sad. You know, like, I've got nothing to be sad about. Why am I like, is this because I don't trust God or what's going on? But then I think knowing that God was with me even through those emotions and he understands me rather than judging me for feeling down, for me that has been helpful. And yeah, just waiting for it to be better rather than just fighting against it. I think that for me was helpful when I was feeling very depressed. And you know, whether you're a Christian or not, you will go through sadness. Some people will, you know, you'll face depression. And I think it's important to understand that God is with you, with us in that as well. He's not going to judge you for feeling that way. But I guess just like your Psalms reference, like, it's important that you be honest with God and just stay with him even in those when you're in those places. And maybe, you know, God will help you understand other people better who are going through similar things. That's how I feel about myself.
Well, because there's another verse in the Bible, in the Psalms as well, which has really helped you in the past. So Psalm 23:4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So this has been a real comfort to you in difficult times, knowing that God's been with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today for Bigger Questions.
Oh,
it's been great to hear something of your journey.
Very deep.
Final question as we finish up. So, Dami, how can we sing when it hurts?
I guess just understand that it does hurt sometimes, and that's part of being alive.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta be vulnerable and you sing, well, for me, I sing and people listen and they feel comforted because they're not alone.
And for you, having God with you is a comfort as well.
Absolutely.
Well, let me leave you with some of the Bible's answer to this big question. How can we sing when it hurts? From Psalm 69, I have come into the deep waters, the floods engulf me. And also from Psalm 23, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I look forward to you joining us next time for Bigger Questions. Thanks very much to our guest today, Dami Im.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.